Why have you decided to go public?
The internet sleuths tracked me down and hounded me and gave me death threats.
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're looking at the ongoing fallout from Netflix's smash hit, Baby Reindeer.
You say this woman is stalking you?
Yeah, she comes to my work, she comes to my house. She sends me emails like all the time.
In 2024, Richard Gadd's critically acclaimed comedy drama Baby Reindeer was released on Netflix. Largely through word of mouth, the series dominated Netflix in both the UK and the US, with people fascinated to hear the true story of how Gadd was stalked by a mentally ill woman for years.
It's a patronizing, arrogant feeling sorry for someone you've only just laid eyes on, but I did. I felt sorry for her.
In the show, Gadd played a fictionalized version of himself, Donnie Dunn, who winds up on the receiving end of Martha Scott's affections when he takes pity on her one day and gives her a cup of tea on the house in the pub he works at.
Can I get you something?
No thanks.
Are you sure? Cup of tea?
No thanks.
You have to buy something.
Can't afford something.
To re-summarize, things quickly spiral out of control in Gadd's life. The series is one of moral grays, as Gadd also engages in stalking behavior more than once and tries to trick Martha into incriminating herself.
Did you meet Martha Scott in the street yesterday?
Yeah, like by chance.
Did you ask her to send you a sexually threatening email?
The police treat them like they're equally culpable and, for years, refuse to do anything. In the end, Martha gets a prison sentence for the stalking and harassment of Gadd and his parents. Jessica Gunning's performance as Martha has been critically acclaimed, as has Gadd's writing and his bravery for revealing so many traumatic parts of his life.
Please.
Names.
Martha, please let go!
Don't you dare!
As well as following Martha, the show also covered Gadd's assault at the hands of a television writer and producer.
Well, I didn't get a goodbye last night, so I thought I'd come get it now.
Oh, right. Well, goodbye.
In the cases of both Martha and Darian, the aforementioned producer, Gadd went to great lengths to disguise their identities, believing that this would be enough to stop the public from finding out who they were. Outing these people wasn't the point of the show, and yet, as often happens, this fell on deaf ears. Despite Gadd publicly asking fans of his show not to out the real-life bases of the characters, it didn't work. People scoured social media for accounts that used certain very particular phrases that Martha used in the show, the titular Baby Reindeer nickname among them.
I sat there for hours taking it all in, piecing together her whole timeline. Her graduate job, how she got fired for inappropriate behavior with the boss, how she started hanging around outside his house.
Eventually, the real Martha went to the tabloids and, while she initially remained anonymous, her identity was revealed and she's since gone on the record. Her name is Fiona Harvey, and she's now done extensive interviews telling her side of the story, culminating in an appearance on Piers Morgan Uncensored.
I had a convicted stalker stalking me.
But what exactly has she been saying?
She is ill. Misunderstood. There are two sides to every story.
Well, she's denied being a stalker publicly and has made many more statements about how she knows nothing about Gadd, to claims that he asked her out despite being, in her words, a gay man, though Gadd himself identifies as bisexual and has done for years.
Then came the comments on all my photos, some as far back as when I first opened the account.
She also had nothing nice to say about Jess Gunning, who, by all other accounts, did a phenomenal job in the show, and also claimed that Gadd was stalking her.
Every morning now, Martha would arrive exactly 2 hours before the pub opened. Then all day she would trail me around the bar, talking endlessly about our future together.
Most infamously, Harvey has now said that she wants to sue Netflix.
Why have they got all these details here which are supported?
Who is they? Netflix?
Who has sent all these things?
Correct.
As in the show, she is a qualified lawyer, saying that the production has invaded her privacy and is defamatory.
Hello?
I wasn't going to speak to you ever again, but I've just been putting down the basics regarding what you said on stage. So
Other lawyers have mixed feelings about whether this could work, though one says that there is potentially a case as Netflix arguably could have done more to hide her identity.
God doesn't like a bragger, but when you're the go-to for the biggest political minds in the game, you've earned a brag or two.
But it's also worth noting that Harvey did end up outing herself and has made myriad contradictory public statements. And given that neither Netflix nor Gadd ever named her and discouraged the public from doing so, maybe there is no legal leg to stand on. That and the fact that Gadd didn't paint himself to be some kind of hero.
If you stop now and never contact me again, then it's almost been perfect, hasn't it?
Elsewhere, and others have threatened Netflix with legal action, notably writer and director Sean Foley. As well as trying to find out who Martha was, online investigators also want to identify Darian, despite the fact that if Gadd wanted him publicly identified, he could have done this himself years ago.
Let's meet and talk. Might have a few pointers how to take this show to the next level.
They decided that Foley was the one Darian was based on, which prompted Foley to report the accusers to the police for making false allegations against him. Gadd then publicly said that Darian was not Sean Foley, again reiterating that this is what he didn't want the show to become.
The TV producer has been misidentified. I don't know about correctly identified, but certainly people have been wrongly identified.
Other stars of the small screen have had things to say about the show too. Richard Osman in particular. On the podcast The Rest is Entertainment, which Osman co-hosts with journalist Marina Hyde, they criticized Netflix for, again, not doing enough to protect the identities of those in the story. Osman also revealed that Darian's real identity is widely known to those in the industry.
And obviously that person has been prosecuted, has never gone to trial, but everyone knows who he is talking about.
Hyde also drew a comparison that many others had made to Baby Reindeer, that being 2020's seminal limited series, I May Destroy You. I May Destroy You was written by and starred Michaela Cole, and was a dramatization of her own assaults and how it affected her, told via a fictionalized version of herself. But Cole's real-life attacker was never identified, unlike the real-life Martha.
Every day now, Martha would be outside, this ticking time bomb on my life.
It's also true that all of the on-screen messages in Baby Reindeer, complete with typos, are real messages that Martha sent to him.
How was your shift, Reindeer? Did you think of me?
Using her very specific phrases, people were able to easily Google things and find the various social media accounts she'd been using to harass Gadd publicly, unearthing her identity. On the 8th of May, things came to a point where Harvey went completely public with her identity, and on the following evening appeared on Piers Morgan Uncensored for an hour-long tell-all interview.
You never said him anything?
No. I think there may have been a couple of emails exchanging, but that was it. Just jokey banter emails.
Morgan's been widely criticised for this, though she's hardly the most controversial person he's ever had sitting opposite him. Seeing her talk in person, it's clear that what Hyde and Osman said about Netflix not disguising Martha enough is true. She's extremely similar to how she appears in the show. They even kept her character Scottish.
I'm shocked. And I think Martha then was a bar stool. I seem to recall reading that.
She denied just about everything Richard Gadd put in the show, though she admitted that she hadn't watched it, saying various contradictory things. At one point, she says she couldn't have been getting free drinks from his pub in Camden because in real life she doesn't drink, though Martha doesn't drink in the show either.
It says in the show that you proceeded to return to the same pub time and again, but you never paid for a drink.
I don't drink alcohol, and...
Did you pay for anything that you had in the pub?
Lemonade or a soft drink.
With the exception of that first cup of tea, she's always served a glass of Diet Coke. She did, however, admit to having a stuffed reindeer and telling Gadd about this, admitting to a lot of the things that happened, but saying that they were misconstrued jokes.
Hey, you should see the woman he's dating. Pig ugly. If he stooped any lower, he'd be a hunchback.
She also went back and forth on saying she'd spent any time with Gadd, whether she'd ever sent him an email, whether she'd ever sent him a letter, and so on.
What do you feel about Richard Gadd?
I think he's psychotic.
We're sure that those same sleuths who found her will be going through this interview with a fine-toothed comb to find every single time she contradicts herself, which she seems to do frequently.
Martha had taped everything.
Sure, I'll come pick you.
Everything we'd ever done.
It's led to a lot of questions for Netflix, which has been criticized many times in recent years for how it handles its true crime properties, as well as its dramas based on real events.
I knew she was bad, and I knew she was dangerous, but she flattered me. That was enough.
Piers Morgan's interview has been dubbed irresponsible by many, and it's clear that, while the show is excellent and raises many questions about male assault and stalking that we desperately need to talk about, it did fall short where privacy was concerned. But all those people online certainly should have listened to Gadd, at least, when he asked them to stop speculating.
These things should have been better disguised, and I don't think this would have happened. I don't think for a minute this would have happened at the BBC.
After all, if he wanted the identities of those involved to be known, he could have named them himself, and he chose not to for this very reason. And there's no excuse to send anybody death threats online.
Are you guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And that was everything we've learned after Baby Reindeer.
And there, in that courtroom, was the last time I ever set eyes on her.
What do you think? Could Netflix have done more, or are those internet sleuths to blame for violating a woman's privacy? Let us know your thoughts.